Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark, and we are in Ruth chapter 4, and we're continuing our series of lessons in verse 10 this lesson. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, as we saw last lesson, we were in verses 9 and 10. Boaz now is buying this land. And he says here in verse 9, And Boaz said to the elders and all the people, You are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Kilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Now we get into verse 10, and this is where we begin this lesson. And he says, Moreover, I wonder if that was, I wonder when he said moreover, that he meant, something special like, yeah, not only do I get the land, but I get Ruth also. Moreover, I get Ruth, right? So he says, Moreover, Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon the inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among the brethren, and from the gate of his place. And then he says, You are witnesses this day. So he says, Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, I have purchased to be my wife. And remember, we said a few lessons ago that when Ruth and the land were both connected, when you buy the land, you buy Ruth. And she was purchased by Boaz. Now, in Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 14, it says, A prudent wife is from the Lord. Like Ruth, we were poor, fallen, we were hopeless sinners. We were foreigners to God's kingdom, and we were without hope. As Mahlon's and Elimelech's family was rescued from extinction, so Jesus became as one of us to rescue a remnant from eternal extinction for all of eternity. And this is, remember, as we said again a couple lessons ago, that it's not the situation with Boaz and Ruth is not exactly the way the situation is with us and God. Boaz was marrying Ruth, and it was, in a sense, it was a delight for him to marry Ruth. Was she pretty? Probably. We don't know, because it doesn't say, but she was very virtuous. And Boaz wanted Ruth to obey God. He wanted Ruth so that he could obey God and be blessed by God, but he was also gaining a virtuous wife. But with God, it's not the same with us. God doesn't look down on earth and say, "Oh, aren't they wonderful? Boy, you know what? I can save some of them. I'll have a much better life up here in heaven if I have them up here, right? If I can get that guy up here, boy, it'll be so much more better up here in heaven." No. Why? Because there's nothing good about us. We're hopeless. We're sinners. We're in a desperate situation here. And unless God chose to come and die for us out of his love and grace, unless he chose to come and die for us, our race, our humanity would go into extinction. Just like if Boaz hadn't redeemed Ruth and Naomi, if he hadn't redeemed them and raised up children, then the name of Elimelech, the family of Elimelech and his two sons, Mahlon and Kilion, would have gone into extinction. It would have disappeared from the nation of Israel. There'd be no more family there. And it's the same with us. Unless God, out of God's love and grace, we are still alive today. And has come and died for us, and a remnant will be in heaven. Those who accept Christ into their hearts, we get to go to heaven, and we are a remnant of humanity in heaven. Mankind's value system is all out of whack with God's value system. In Isaiah chapter 55 and verse 8, it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord." And then in 55 verses 1 and 2, "Ho, everyone that thirsts, come to the waters, and he that has no money, come ye buy and eat. Yea, come buy wine and milk without money and without price. Why do you spend money on that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfies not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness." Many people value the wrong things. They waste time and they waste money on non-eternal things. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 18, it says, "While we look," what? As Christians, what are we to do? "While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are unseen." Why? Because the things which are seen are what? What are they? They are temporal. What did God say? God said the things that are seen. Yes, the curtains, the tables, the things in your home, the trees, the cars, the beautiful scenery. It's everything that you can see with your eyes is what? Temporal. It's temporal. God says it's temporal. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are unseen are what? Eternal. They're eternal. The things which are unseen are eternal. Not the things which are seen. The things which are unseen, they're eternal. Many times we waste our time and our money on temporal things. Not on the eternal, on temporal. In 1 Timothy chapter 6, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 9 through 11, "But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition." Right? Listen, if you want, you can go to I did a whole series on 1 Timothy. I did the whole book of 1 Timothy. You can pull up chapter 6, verses 9 through 11. I have it in more detail there. But you can go and listen to that if you'd like. "For the love of money is what? Is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, and have pierced themselves through with many sorrows." Paul here is warning after the love of money. He's warning about people wanting to be rich. He's not saying that having riches is wrong. He's just saying it's the heart towards the riches, the giving of your life towards these things. So again, having lots of money is not a sinful thing. It's your heart towards that money. And this is why he says, "But they that will be rich," they that desire in their heart to want to be rich. It doesn't mean that they actually attain the riches. It doesn't mean that they actually are rich. It says they that will be, they that want to be rich. You can be poor and want to be rich. But they that want to be rich fall into what? Temptations and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. You should listen to that. I'm beginning to remember now what I taught on that. You should go there and pull up 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9 and listen. Is very good on this. But anyways, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, and they've pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Many sorrows. Verse 11. But, what? Here's verses 9 and 10, he's talking about what? Temporal things. The things that you can see, the riches, the things of this world, temporal things. But now in verse 11 are the what? The eternal, the unseen things, the blessings of God. Verse 11, but you, O man of God, flee these things, what? And follow after what? Follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, meekness, right? Follow these things. Why? Because those things are from the blessings of God. The rich of this world seek earthly pleasures, but in verse 11, these are the true riches of God. Verse 11 of 1 Timothy 6, those are the true riches of God. Godliness, faith, meekness, temperance, righteousness. Those are where you attain your riches from God. The world grabs things to increase their position or their wealth in this world, but they are blind and they cannot properly value things in this life with respect to eternity, because the average person doesn't look beyond death. The average person doesn't look beyond death. Listen, do you consider yourself to be wise? What value do you place on things like gold, jewels, money, power? What value do you place on those things? And what value, listen, and what value do you place on prayer, on the Word of God, on having good Christian friends? What value do you place on a Bible teaching preacher, right? On a virtuous man or a virtuous woman? What value do you place on righteousness, on holiness? Boaz put a high price on a woman who was a Gentile stranger, who was poor, but she possessed great virtue. The world starves their souls that their flesh and sinful desires may be full. They reject what is good for their souls. They reject Christ so that their temporal inheritance here on earth will not be marred. But for those who reject Christ, their name, listen, those who reject Christ in this world, their name and their inheritance will be lost and forgotten forever. Those who enter into the lake of fire go there, and their name and their inheritance, everything goes with them. They're forgotten forever. What have you bought today? Did you buy the things of God which will be an inheritance forever? Did you buy righteousness today? Did you spend your life, spend your time in prayer today? Did you buy some holiness today? Huh? Did you buy some good Christian friends today? Did you buy virtue today? Did you buy godliness today? What did you buy today? When you go to bed at night, take a minute and think, what things did I buy today? Or did you buy temporal things, things that are passing away, things of this world. What did you buy today? Did you buy a strong desire to know God? Did you buy His Word today, studying His Word? Did you buy meditating on His Word? Did you buy singing psalms unto God today? Or did you buy temporal things, things that are now, you may say, Pastor Mark, we need things to live in this world. Of course, we need a car, and some people don't need a car, but you may need a car. You may you have a place to live. You have clothes to wear, food to eat. These are things we need to have. Yes, obviously. But I mean for the desires of your heart. What did you buy today? Is your heart in those things? Is your heart in your riches? Like 1 Timothy 6 verse 9. Is your heart, do you want to be rich? Is your heart desire to be rich? Even if you're not rich, you want to be rich and you plan on being rich. And if I hit the lottery, I know what I'll do, right? And I wouldn't waste my money. I'd spend it on these things, right? You know, you're a Christian. I'd put it in missions, and I'd give it to the church, and I'd be so holy with that money, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, $25 million drops in your lap, right? Then you find out who you really are. Then you find out where your money really goes. Now, like Paul, like David said, right? Don't make me so rich, God, that I forget you. Don't make me so rich, God, that I forget you. And you know what? Seek those things which are above. Buy, like he says in Isaiah 1. Did you spend your money on things that were not bread? Did you spend your money on things that are only for this life? Buy the things of God. Buy the eternal unseen things of God. Holiness, prayer, righteousness, singing psalms. Buy good Christian friends. Buy these things. All right? Until next lesson, walk with the Lord. I know He walks with you.